week 15 or 16?
16.
Week 16. My God, that is amazing. And we're talking about when to stay silent. So it's when to stay silent, and it's so deep. Oh, lovely. Glad you're good. Hoping you've had a fantastic day. For all of those who are watching us on YouTube and on Facebook, it's lovely to have you with us today, guys. And we've got so much to discuss, we've got so much to share, we've got so much to comment on. If you haven't been following us and our journey so far, we've been talking about the art of communication and literally just saying, you know, like, let's talk about communication issues that come up in relationships, in marriages, in everything really. And we've looked at how we communicate, body language, loads of different things we've covered. So if you haven't already seen it, please definitely feel free to head over to our YouTube, and you can catch up and you can see what you've missed. But this week we are talking about when to stay silent. And the reason why it's such a juicy topic is because last week and the week before we were talking about the silent treatment and how that can be misused in relationships. But I think there's an area that we need to kind of delve into a bit more, which is knowing when to stay silent, knowing when to... And that doesn't mean actually saying, yeah, I'm going to give my partner the silent treatment. But actually, there are some times when we need to... when we just need to...
Just curb it.
Just hold it. So bear with us today as we unpackage all of the different areas that we think that this applies to. And if you yourself have been in any of these situations, by all means, definitely let us know. Come on, jump on the live, send your messages, comment, share. Let us know your thoughts as to when you think it's the right time to stay silent. Or if you're like, no, I see it, I tell it like it is. If I think we need to say something, I need to say it. If I think something needs to be shared, it needs to be shared. And there are people out there who do feel like that. They feel like, listen... If I've got something to say, I need to say it.
100%.
Now, we want to hear from you. We definitely want to know where your thoughts with this. How do you feel about this? And also tell us any experiences you've had when you have stopped saying what you wanted to say, or when you have shared and given it to them the way that you needed to give it to them. But yes. Are we all good on socials?
We are all good.
Lovely. So, we are live on Instagram, on YouTube, on Facebook. We're going to go straight in.
100%. Good evening, guys. Hope you guys are good. Hope you've heard basically how and where we're going today. If you are tuning into Two Love Collective for the first time, you may be wondering, who are these handsome and beautiful couple that are in front of you today? And we're going to do just that. We're going to introduce ourselves. My name is Ulrich.
And I'm Siobhan.
And like I said, this is Two Love Collective. And our ethos is believing in love again. Because we believe that relationships needs to be believed in again.
That's right.
Love, more importantly, needs to be believed in again. Because some of us have had some really... not so good experiences, you know, and others we've had some good ones, but there's always space for us to believe in love that much more. So thank you guys for joining us. As Siobhan said, we are live right now. We go live every single Tuesday at 9 p.m. That's GMT or BST time, and we talk about all things relationships. And we have been speaking on the art of communication, because it's an art. You know, it's something you've got to wield, like a sword. You've got to learn how to use it, how to navigate it. And it's very difficult, especially when it comes to relationships. Do you know what I mean?
Yes.
Because, you know, men are from Venus and women are from Mars. And we speak, men are from Mars, women are from Venus. There you go. And we speak completely different languages.
Completely. We're not made up the same.
No.
We are different. And the way we see things is very different. So... Let's get down to it. So we're talking about when to stay silent. Now, I'm not going to lie to you. This one is powerful. And I think over the years, I have had to learn when to just close this mouth so that it doesn't get me into problems, so that I can be still and know that if he has said something,
and I will not be.
But we need to be silent sometimes. That's the joke. That is actually the joke. There are so many times, there are so many times where we want to speak our mind, that we want to share, we want to be free. And I think as time has gone on, I've actually learned, do you know what? In wisdom, I should have shut up right there. That wasn't helpful. That actually made the situation worse. And then you kind of get into the problem where you're just like, okay, what did I learn from this? Because what I was trying to achieve was clearly missed, and then it ended up being here. So, prime example, if I ask Ulrich to do something, and Ulrich says, yeah, I'll do it. If I don't see it done and I bring it up again, he'll turn around and say to me, you asked me to do this thing and I said I would do it. If I then come back and say, yeah, but you haven't done it yet.
What's important to understand here, guys, is that when a request is made, there must be a time frame attached to things. And a lot of times, time frames are not given. Urgency is not communicated. And so therefore, sometimes one is not to understand or aware how urgent what the request has been made actually is.
Needs to be done.
Because what happens is when that request comes in, it now needs to be fit into a plethora of things which need to be done in that hour or that day or even that minute. So when that request comes in, it's really important, guys, to communicate that. And it's something that, we've talked about in terms of our own relationships. Just let me know how urgent it was. Because if you don't let me know the urgency of what it is, I'm not necessarily always going to prioritize it at the top of my list, because my whole day is full up of things grabbing my attention, grabbing my priority. And so I can't do everything at the same time. So if it's something that's urgent, it needs to be communicated that this is something that I need done within the hour, because this is going to affect this and this is going to be affect that. And I can put my hands up, and I'm sure we both can. Do you know what I'm saying? Where we've even communicated the urgency and still
it hasn't been met.
It hasn't been met. Why? Because a lot of times there are so many other things that are priority. And so it's also like a season where you have to manage your time and manage what it is that you're doing. If you are a busy person, just making sure that you're making time for your significant other in terms of that request. Not just spending time with them, but just the things that they ask us to do.
And I think like what you said is really important about priorities and managing, because it straight away, if you've asked someone to do something and they haven't done as you've asked, immediately you feel like, okay, so what did you prioritize over me? What did you prioritize over my request? What is it that's more important than what I've asked you to do? And you can get into a very negative spiral where it's kind of like, well, why does that rank higher than me on your list? Or why does that thing get more of your attention than I do? Is it regularly that I must wait? And you, like, if left untackled and dealt with, it can send the wrong signals. Oh, so you can prioritize that, but you can't prioritize what I've asked you because you don't see the importance of what it is that I've asked you. But then
100%.
if you haven't said what the urgency is for why you need that thing, then the person may not actually understand what it is you're trying to communicate.
Exactly.
So, prime example, if, let's say, there's no toilet roll, and you ask the person to get some toilet roll, and they don't bring the toilet roll, they don't know you actually need the toilet roll because you actually need to go to the toilet.
Ah.
Right there, right then. Or is it a thing where you've been to the toilet so they can restock it afterwards? But without you adding how urgent it is, when you come back 15 minutes later, you're really busting. You're like, I thought you was going to get the toilet roll. The person now hasn't done as you've asked of them. And now there's like why haven't you done this thing? And then they're like, well, sorry, I didn't realise you needed it urgently. I was doing it. Well, I told you that we needed this thing. Why does it mean that you need to be told how urgently you need something? Automatically, there's a beef that is about to ensue because
there is an eruption, a volcano that's been dormant.
Exactly.
That is arising.
Is arising. And at the end of the day, now it's almost like, okay, the silent treatment shouldn't come in here. But like Rocharia has actually said, you know, it's a case of, I know, it's a case of adding context, and it's a case of understanding, okay, so what is that expectation that you had? However, at the same time, is that a time where you stay silent and you don't clap back to be like, well, listen, why do I even need to tell you how urgently something needs to be done? If I ask you to do something, just do it now. And then we get into a whole new ball game.
And that's where I stay silent.
So now somebody else,
because reflection needs to happen here.
Frustration.
So I understand who are you talking to.
Exactly. So, and this is where I think that we have some de-escalation tactics, because when to stay silent when you know, okay, cool, this person may be venting and they may be frustrated, but at the end of the day, is their frustration valid to be taken out on you? They're frustrated about the situation that they're in because of X, Y, and Z, and maybe it's because they haven't explained or communicated the urgency or the importance of what it is they expected and needed. But then, just because they're frustrated and they're taking it out and they're releasing that frustration, do you now have the right to now put them back in their place or clap back or express your frustration? Or is it a time for you to actually
find the right words to re-communicate what you were trying to say,
or stay silent so that it doesn't escalate?
Well, to be honest, I think the whole silent thing is you need a level of discernment, because I don't necessarily believe that you need to necessarily stay silent in all circumstances, and I don't believe that you need to talk in all circumstances. I think you have to read the situation and just feel the vibes. Do you understand? Because a lot of times, you know, if I can sense that you are frustrated, I'm going to stay silent.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because if I can tell that you've got a lot on, and whatever it is that I've asked you to do that hasn't been done, I'm not going to come at you if I can see that you've had a really hard day. Yeah. And sometimes I've even missed that cue. Yeah. Where you miss the cue that the person has had a bad day, and you're just in yourself.
Yeah, because you've had your own issue going on, or you've had your own stuff. Yeah. Go on.
And that was it. And I think it's just discernment is definitely needed, because you have to choose your words as well. Like for me, you know, I can give examples. But I think it's something that I have learned over the years, because I think there's been particular issues with me and Siobhan, you know, where I have become frustrated, where I've asked for particular things and it hasn't been done. And, you know, over the years, like, we've had mad arguments, which, you know, she has communicated certain things and she's lashed out with other things, and it's just been like, oh, okay, cool, like note to self kind of thing. And so because of that, I don't push that thing anymore. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? Because I remember timekeeping, as you guys know, that was my main thing. That was my bugbear. And it was a thing where it was all the time. And then after a while, she was like, well, just give me time. And it was just like, okay, cool. And then we went to see someone. That's why cancelling is good. We went to see someone and, you know, they just ironed things out and we were just like, okay, cool. And from that day, I said to myself, I'm not going to say anything.
Yeah.
I'm just not going to say anything. As frustrated as I am,
yeah,
I'm not going to say anything. I'm going to make sure that whatever request that I want, which may cause an argument, I'm not going to get vexed about it. I'm going to choose my words and I'm going to say, can we please
work
do
on this? Yeah. Or can we work toward this? Or is this a doable target that we want to hit?
100%. And I think we between ourselves, we know the tones.
Yeah.
That we use when it's like,
yeah,
I could kick off right here.
Here?
But I'm just going to speak calmly and just say, can you please try to do this next time?
Yeah.
That would be really appreciated. And then we keep it moving. And then maybe next week it doesn't get done again. And then it's like, okay. And I won't say anything. Got nowhere to stay silent. Because if it's too often, then now there's pressure on the shoulders. And then it's like, oh, well, you're always... So you've got to... And this is what I love about marriage. Well, I don't love it, but it teaches you patience.
Yes, it does.
It has taught us
Definitely
patience and long suffering.
No, you're not wrong. You're not wrong. And I think that one of the paramount things that kind of stands out to me is going back to what you said about if you're frustrated and the person's frustrated and they are in their feelings, because at the end of the day, come on, we're real, we're human beings. Things catch us off guard. We experience something and we want to lash out.
Yep.
And the first thing that comes out of our mouth is not always what we intend or meant to say. But what ends up coming out is the raw emotion.
Yeah. The venom.
The venom, the hurt, the frustration that comes out of our mouth. And then it's up to us as the spouse, the other person, to read the situation and say, do you know what? I could respond to this with fire. So you've come out with fire and I could clap back with fire. But actually, I need to simmer down. I need to be silent here as an act of wisdom, not as an act of it's okay for you to do this, not as an act of I am okay with you speaking to me like this, but actually we are not going to arrive at a good outcome if we discuss this heated. So let me let you know that I've heard you, and then we can try to readdress this once we've calmed down. Because I know myself and Ulrich, we're both extremely expressive. We're both extremely passionate. So if Ulrich has had a full-on day with meetings coming out of his ears and he's got a whole heap of responsibilities and so on and so on, and he knows he's under pressure and so on and so on, if I start coming for him to say, didn't you say that you were going to do this and you ain't done it? And then you have the cheek to turn around and tell me about something I haven't done.
And I will close my mouth.
But immediately,
I will be silent.
if he's ready, like if he's already frustrated, what I will end up getting is a venom that may come that's not intended for me. Because what happens is the weight of the issue from that morning, the issue from that afternoon, the problem that came up that evening that's still not resolved, all of that frustration ends up being poured out on the wrong person at the wrong time.
It's poured out on you, boy.
It's poured out. And unfortunately, I could turn around and be like, you can't speak to me like that. And then the argument gets into a whole new area.
And it's about something completely different.
You always disrespect me. You don't know how to value me. The issue was something completely different. But now what happens, hey Shai, is you find yourself arguing about something that can make and break. It now starts having labels. Well, you're this and you're that. Well, you never. And when you get into throwing out words like you never and you always, there's already a problem. Yeah. Because it gets a person's back up. Because nobody always does something and no one never does something. Those are trigger words. But the problem that we have is knowing when to stay silent. That in wisdom and takes great strength and courage to hold yourself back and not react and not be not to provoke the person and clap back and say what you wanted to say. But at the same time, when you don't say what's on your mind, that person may think, that's why you're not saying anything, because I'm right.
True.
And you're just like,
true that.
No, you're not right. Which makes it can be more infuriating that you want to now justify and really lay in and give them a piece of your mind. But then it's just like, to what end? To what avail? What will that solve? You proving that they are wrong and that you are right, when you already know they're in a position of weakness because they've had a frustrating day. They've already been feeling like they're beaten up. They've already been feeling like they're down. So now you, who's supposed to now come and be walking alongside them to help them up, kick them when they're down for them being rude to you. And I think that this dynamic is the unwritten stuff. It's the stuff that's not communicated, it's very but true. It's experienced.
Yeah, 100%. But I think, go on.
Because what you don't want to be is, you don't want to be a punching bag.
Exactly.
But at the same time, you want to allow the person to feel like, I'm walking alongside, I'm with you in this. I'm not your enemy. I'm not another person coming for blood. And I think, if we're honest, that comes down to the whole vulnerability thing that we've been discussing.
100%.
But
yeah, and I think to kind of coin off that point as well, it's also really important for both parties to identify their part to play.
Yeah.
Like, that's something that I've worked pretty hard to try to realize. Like, if I've been short with Siobhan, or I've retaliated in frustration because of my day or whatever, being able to pick that up and later be able to say, you know what, I'm really sorry that I snapped at you, or I was short with you.
Take ownership.
It's just because this has been really... Do you know what I mean? And I think that's really important, because sometimes we can walk around with a kind of arrogance.
Yeah.
Like, almost like I'm justified to speak that way, or I'm justified to feel, or can you not see how much pressure that I'm under, kind of thing. Yeah. And that's another point which, I've learned over the years as well to appreciate, and to quickly get to that place where it's just like, look, or even explain the pressure that you're under. Yeah. Because Siobhan will see the pressure I'm under, and sometimes, she won't even be able to get me because my face is just in that screen, and I'm just like, sometimes the boys will be going crazy, and she can already read my body language, because sometimes when Cyrus decides that he wants to start drumming at that point where I need to think, I'm just like, I get like this, and I'm just like, look, I need the room. I need the room, because something is going to happen. And then ultimately it might be the kids that might get it.
Exactly. And that's where now a different type of stay silent comes in, because then for me as a parent, I am doing blocking. I am doing my best to actually stop any person from getting into trouble. I'm doing my best to
putting out the fires.
Exactly, to put out fires, and that now means stay silent. And that is when I might get Matthias, okay, go find something else to do. Go find something
not right now.
To distract yourself.
Go in the sitting room right now.
Go to your room and get a book. Go to your room and play or something like that. And I think we have to know when those things are the right times to do it, because unfortunately we are human beings and we do kind of let a whole lot out when it shouldn't. And there is a wisdom. Yeah. There is a wisdom. So I just want to come back to what Rochelle said, because Rochelle's basically said, listen, the tongue can be sharp, but sometimes you just have to let it cut yourself and not others for their sake.
Yeah.
And that's the act of love. It is when you know you can get this person with what, like, you're in the middle of an argument or a disagreement, and you know you can say the last word that is going to chop down their argument.
It's going to be KO.
But what does it profit for me to show you I could put you in your place? I can finish your argument. I can finish your whole life. You're carrying on bad now, yeah?
And best believe that even as she's saying that she'll finish, there is no end.
No,
because
there's no end.
There will always be a comeback.
There's always
not always.
There's always a comeback, but come on.
Because sometimes it's like,
that was a low blow. I mean, don't get me wrong. As couples, as in relationships, you will have your different fallouts. You will have your different arguments whereby one person goes too far, and you're just like, that was too far. That was too far.
Yeah.
That hurt too much.
Yeah. And that's when it usually blows up.
Exactly.
Because it's like, I must defend my honor.
Exactly. And that often happens. That often happens when it has to deal with your honor or your family. You know, like you get really defensive and you'll go right to the end.
Yeah.
And you'll find yourself feeling like you need to protect, you need to go into safeguarding mode. But actually, that safeguard mode is against the person who you're supposed to be back to back with.
Right.
You're actually supposed to be able to go back to back with each other and protect one another, not go back to back with each other to fight against each other. Because at the end of the day, this is the person you love. You want to spend the rest of your life with them. You want to spend the rest of your time with them. How is it that you're now trying your best to find the best way to cut them deep?
It's mad.
This is your loved one. This is the one that you're protecting. And when we get into a fallout or a disagreement, we're now ready to cut them so deep they walk away with a limp.
Jeez.
Like, are we really serious here?
But the reality, I always like to be real. Do you understand?
Yeah.
The reality is the nature of man. That's how we are. Because once
true.
upon a time, before Jesus came, it was eye for an eye.
Yes, it was.
You hit me, I hit you back.
Yeah.
You slap me, I slap you back.
You
cut me, I cut you back.
Yes.
Do you understand?
Yeah.
That was the rule of thumb. That's nature.
Yeah.
Do you understand? Wet paint, don't touch. Let me see if it's wet.
It just touched. But
it's the nature of man.
And the point is, Jesus has come so that we turn the other cheek. How many of us in our relationships, in our conversations with others, with our family members, how many of us are ready to turn the other cheek?
It's true.
Like what Rochelle has said, fall on our sword.
It's hard though.
Cut our tongue by not saying what we really want to say.
It's true. It's hard though. It's hard. That's what I'm saying.
It's very hard.
It's not easy at all, because I think when you're in that moment where it's all bubbling, do you understand? Because I think sometimes as well, the arguments that you're having is not always the argument that you're having.
Yes. Talk about it.
I say that again. The argument that you're having sometimes is not the argument that you're having.
Yeah.
The argument that you're having is actually linked to something else. That's going on in your heart.
Yes.
But you're using this argument as your outlet.
Yes. Because this person needs to know they can't mess with you. So that's why you're coming at them as vehemently as you are. But really and truly, what it could be is you're actually scared. You're actually scared that if you don't defend your honor to the degree that you should be, then this person's going to think they can come and mess with you another time or any other time they like.
Definitely. Or you feel like how you felt on the playground when they bullied you and made you feel like you were small.
You're preaching. Somebody made you feel that way, so now you vow to yourself, I'm never going to let anybody do that to me again. So if any person tries to come to you, you will spot the signs and you've got your defense mechanisms up.
And it doesn't matter the face of that person.
Yes.
Because the issue is that I don't want to call it trauma because that sounds a bit deep, but that experience is faceless.
Yes.
So even if it's your mum, or someone close,
it just comes up again. And it's powerful because when I'm thinking about all of this time, I'm just thinking the silence that you now have to yield. You actually have to say, I am in command and control of my body, my mind, my tongue right now, so that I don't speak even though I want to.
Absolutely.
Even though I feel I need to defend. Because, like the Bible tells us that God has already said to us, vengeance is his.
But we want to see that vengeance.
Well, we are the ones that want to get revenge. We are the ones
now.
that we want to see this person suffer and feel it.
Right now.
And
because the problem is when God, when vengeance, when you say vengeance is mine, says the Lord, we don't know when that return is gonna come.
I don't want you to get them when they're in their 60s. I want you to feel it. I want them to feel it now.
Right now.
So Rochelle has said it is hard and it takes maturity, and there's a difference between choosing finding peace and staying silent. And you're absolutely spot on, because you're choosing to be silent, and you need to find peace in that silence, because let's be real, some of us are silent to the person and then we go away and say to ourselves what we should have said and wanted to say to the person. Now, you can say with a show of hands, you can put comments in the chat if you want to or not. But me, I know I have been so guilty of that. That when somebody is upsetting me and I don't say exactly what's on my mind, I don't say exactly what I wanted to say, but I turn round and think about it when I'm in the shower, or I think about it when I should have said, I wish I had said, if only I had said. Abby, you put your hand up. Yes, you felt it, you know it.
Yeah.
And Rochelle said, and you're bunning on the inside because
you should have said it. You should have dropped it.
But you know why you didn't drop it.
Yeah.
You know why you didn't drop it, because at the end of the day, it's easy to say, oh, it just came out. It's harder for you to bite your tongue, to hold your lip. It is harder for you to actually say.
Yeah. Listen, guys, falling on your sword is one of the most. It's the hardest thing to do.
Yeah, categorically.
To know, because it's not even just about like winning the argument or whatever, but you know that you can go toe to toe with this person.
Yeah.
You know you can clap back.
Yeah.
And you know that you can you hurt him, even if you don't win. You want to hurt, because sometimes you know you're wrong.
Yeah.
But you're fighting because you just want to hurt them. Because some battles, you know you've lost.
Yeah.
But before I go down, I need to just give him as much hits as possible so that he knows that he fought me. That I didn't go down without a fight.
Exactly.
Wakanda forever. Do you understand? I need to put some damage.
It's true. It's so true.
Because trust me, some arguments, you know you're wrong, but the pride that you've got me, never. Yeah. I'm not gonna give that to anybody.
It's so true.
We're going for it. Let's go.
So true.
Let's go.
And I love it. I love what Abby said when she's like, especially when you process after and you become the best solo actress.
It's true.
I'm not even going to lie.
100%. You reenact it, innit? Yeah, the face expressions, everything.
You've got it down to a T.
Listen.
And here's a joke. Part of me is like, okay, cool. So are you being fake? Are you being real? Are you being smart? Are you being wise?
No.
Where does that go? Where does that emotion go? Because there are times when you can bottle something up and then replay it several times after several days. And then it's like, well, would it have just been better for you to say it? So that it's not churning around inside of you? Or is it better for you to no, stay silent, even though you could have said that. You could have dealt with it like that. And there's nothing worse when it is between loved ones or people who you want to honor. Your boss, your parent, your aunt, you
Yeah. You can say the thing that's gonna just finish this whole thing.
Exactly.
But for the sake of peace.
Yes.
Do you understand? But for the sake of
peace.
Do you understand?
And I know what it's like because I had a really good friend, and it was in a position of honor, and I said something that I shouldn't have, and it broke the relationship. It fractured it so bad. I tried lots of different things. I bought a gift. I called them. I spoke to them. Sent messages, and they said it was fine. They said we're back. We're cool. Yeah. It's fine. It's forgiven. But it wasn't. It never went back to the way it was, and I will always remember that. Whereby I should have not said what I said, but I said it, and I will always have that as a marker to remind me.
Yeah.
Even if it is harder to fall on your sword, even if it is harder to stay silent, it is better. In those instances, it is better just because you the cost.
Yeah.
And the Oscar goes to.
Yeah. It's so true, and the Bible says that death and life is in the power of the tongue.
Yes.
And I think bringing it back to scripture, it's like we have to understand the power of our words. And I think I like that illustration because sometimes we don't understand how much our words affect people.
That's right.
You know, because there's that whole, you know, that saying that sticks and stones may break my bones, but words will never hurt me. And it's a complete lie because words have the power to hurt you deeper than anything else, deeper than actions even.
Yeah.
And I think we have to just be so conscious because I don't think sometimes when we're in arguments that we are considering what our words are doing, what our body language is doing. Do you know what I'm saying? Because it communicates a lot.
Yeah.
And I know for guys, because of the way how, you know, girls have communicated or come at them or reacted to particular things, that's the reason why they don't share.
Ooh.
That's the reason they're not vulnerable.
Yeah.
Because sometimes the arguments that you have as you're building communicates how you're going to handle areas of my heart.
Yeah.
So we have to be so careful in how we communicate. Even at this stage, coming up to 11 years, we have to be mindful. Do you know what I mean? Because even for me, just being completely transparent, there's certain things that, you know, I didn't communicate to Siobhan just because of particular arguments that we had, things that she said, and I was just like, yeah, I'm gonna hold off on that for a little while. Do you understand? So it's like all of these things are so important. And yeah, just remember, like even Christ, he did the biggest sacrifice. Do you understand? When people were mocking him and lying on him and you know, crucify him. Do you understand? And he had to just say, look, Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do.
Yeah.
You know, and he looked in the face of betrayal and looked in the face of knowing that he had all. Can you imagine? He was at the beginning of creation.
Yeah. He had all power.
All power.
That's good.
Although it was limited because he was in the earth, he had all power. You know, and still with all of that power was still able to humble himself. And I think that is like the key to life. It's the key to success on every level. Being able to be in a position where you can and you don't.
Yes. And that's it. Just because you can doesn't mean you should. It's like if and we have this situation right now with Matthias and Cyrus. So we have two boys, one of them is 5 and the other one is 1 year old. If Cyrus starts doing something, Matthias can take it away from him and push him down on the floor. He can do that, but he shouldn't. Just because you're bigger and you're stronger doesn't mean you take advantage and you do something that you shouldn't. Now, it's the same in your relationship. Just because you can speak louder, or just because you can argue your point, or just because you can say something that can really hurt them and finish them off, doesn't mean you should. It's about you actually knowing when to speak and what to say and what not to say. Because I kid you not, when you're falling out and you have an argument with someone, there is a way that you argue.
Yeah.
There is an art to having a fallout.
Yeah.
That you're not disrespecting them. You're not calling them outside of their name. You're not shutting them down and making them feel so small. And then trying to lie next to them 2 days later. It can't work. It needs to be that you are honouring the person even though you're having a disagreement. So if we're having a disagreement with someone that is our loved one, and we're now having to say, I hear you, but I disagree.
Yeah.
The way that you communicate that is not shut your mouth. Listen, I can't even listen to you right now because you're just chatting rubbish.
Jeez. Wow. Can you imagine what that does? Can we just even go through those words?
But all of those kind of things, it's how, like, because the person, they won't just remember what you said. They will remember how you made them feel.
Whew.
How you said it. So you're having a disagreement. Okay, cool. You're justified to disagree. That's what married couples, relationships, that's what they do. You are going to disagree.
Yeah.
But the problem is,
yeah,
now in your disagreement, you're being so disrespectful.
Yeah.
You're cutting ties in what you're building. It's almost like you're uprooting. You're undoing.
Yeah. The roots that you've just sown.
What you've been sowing, what you've been watering, what you've been growing. It's sabotaging, really.
Yeah, without you even knowing.
Because then if you're willing to treat the person like this, why would they come to you now to trust you with other things or to pour out more love or their heart?
Absolutely.
Is it a safe space?
Absolutely. And I think that's why we did the whole thing about like courting as well.
Yeah.
Because we have to remember that our relationship, and we said this obviously during courting because of the subject, but courting is about presenting evidence.
Yeah.
Right? So you get to a particular place in your relationship where you begin to now present evidence of the character, the person that you are. So essentially you're giving the other person kind of like binoculars into your life.
Yeah.
And the things that trigger you, the things that have made you the person that you are.
It's true.
And so, and that doesn't stop.
Yeah.
That presenting of evidence doesn't stop, because if you present evidence in the courtroom in the wrong way, if you present evidence that has been fabricated, if you present evidence that, do you understand, that you got from a source that is not correct, it's not going to be viable in court.
Come on.
Do you understand? And that principle goes through your relationship, your marriage.
Yeah.
Because you're still presenting evidence to your spouse.
Yeah.
In the way that you react, in the way that you express yourself.
Yeah.
Do you understand what I'm saying? And that should always continue to kind of convict, because it convicts us.
Yeah.
Do you understand? Whenever we overstep that mark, or we have an argument, or we have a shouting battle, and it's just like, why?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? What are we trying to prove? Have we not come far enough to realize that, look, we're in this together? Do you understand?
We're on the same team.
We're on the same team.
Yeah.
And even for us, and that's why we're always transparent with our own experiences, because we don't want to paint a perfect picture of relationship or marriage. We want to paint a real picture of marriage. And the fact of the matter is that you are going to have conflict, you are going to have disagreements, you are going to have massive elephants in the room that you need to deal with. You know, and it's not always, you know, straightforward as sometimes we like to paint the picture, like, oh yeah, you just do this and you just do this and you just do this and that's what the Bible says. And because it's not always like that. It's not always black and white.
It's grey. Many grey areas.
Absolutely. And
sorry, just going back to what you said, there's many grey areas because we've never been through that experience before, so we don't even know how we're going to respond. We don't even know how we're going to feel. And then what happens is we get into that situation, we don't expect to be in that situation, and we respond in a way that we are not even happy with ourselves about. And we need that time to reflect.
100.
We need that time to now be able to communicate something back to the person, to say, I'm sorry, or do you know what? as I thought about it, because I felt like I was justified at the time because of X, Y, and Z. But now on reflection, I can see that actually that was based on illegitimate information, or that was based on me feeling afraid about something, or that was based on something that was exactly. Yeah. But you're not even able to get to the bottom of that thing. Yeah. So it can't now be what is predetermined. For your relationship, like what you said with presenting evidence. You're continually presenting evidence to this person that I'm not perfect, but I'm trying to be the best that I can be. That's the point of what you're supposed to be communicating. So the minute that the person starts to feel like, are you still trying here? Or are you like, this is it? This is who I am. Yeah. Take it or leave it.
100%.
Then you start getting into some ultimatum areas where you're almost like, where I should have stayed silent, where I should have backed off, or where I should have given time for reflection, where I should have given time for wisdom to speak. Yeah. I now backed into a corner. Yeah. My spouse or my counterpart. And I think it bodes us to places that it doesn't need to get to. We end up getting into places in our relationship that it didn't have to get here.
No, it definitely didn't.
If we had fallen on our sword, or if we had remained silent, or if we had just held back.
Yeah, because most arguments, now when I think about it, most arguments are birthed out of defense.
Yeah, you're not wrong.
Because essentially what you're trying to do is you're trying to defend yourself because you feel threatened.
Yes.
Do you understand? So it might be something she says or he says, and you're just like, what? And it's just like the defender comes out. Do you understand? And now you try to defend.
Yeah.
And that's not your role.
That's not.
The Bible says that wives, submit to your husbands. Husbands, love your wives. Yeah. That's our instruction.
Yeah.
That's what we're supposed to do. We don't actually need to defend ourselves.
Yeah.
Do you understand? Because if our relationships are submitted to God and submitted to the Holy Spirit, He will now reveal. Do you understand? And I think that's where I want people to get to, that humility.
Yes.
And that vulnerability, to get to a space, a safe space where weaknesses can be shared. Do you understand what I'm saying? Because once we understand those weaknesses, and each other understands those weaknesses, we're now stronger together, because now we're able to protect each other.
That's right.
And I think this is where I want to get to, and I'm holding to do this vulnerability series, because it's gonna be crazy, because getting vulnerable, man,
Jesus,
it's such a hard thing, and we have to get to that stage where we create a space. And that's why that's why we're building this foundation of communication, because vulnerability cannot come without effective communication.
That's right.
Vulnerability cannot come without effective communication, because there is no way that you can express the real depth of your vulnerability if you can't communicate it.
Absolutely, 100%. You can hashtag it, you can put it up in like it's almost like you cannot expect to get full up if you don't bite the food. It's like it's going to be near enough impossible. But I love what you're saying, because nobody likes having to be vulnerable. Nobody likes having to open up, having to feel weak, or having to feel anxious, or having to feel judged. Nobody wants those emotions. But out of those emotions come the strongest thing, which is a peace and a power and a strength that this person has your back. That this person is not judging you. That there is no anxiety. It's almost like it brings up these things, but it removes it immediately when you hear the other person say, I got you. Don't even fret. Don't even feel bad about this, or whatever it is. But we're never going to arrive at that point of strength. We're never going to feel and experience that emotion when we're not willing to be vulnerable. Definitely. But hey, that's going into the vulnerable series.
No, but you know what? I feel like we need to do some research.
Yeah.
Like, because I definitely want to speak to some serious, like, women. Not saying that the people who are on are not serious, but seriously, because I think we need to understand this thing. Because I think for guys, we feel like that vulnerability thing, that you guys are gonna see us as weak.
I think that one's a conference.
We need to actually answer that question.
Yeah.
And I think we need all types of women from all walks of life, in terms of those that are smashing it, who are top earners, and those who are, you know, main in a different sphere of experience and stuff, and actually say, if your man said this, how would you
see him? How would you? Yeah, that sounds like a conference to me. I'm not even gonna lie. I can't even lie. That sounds like a conference to me. I didn't just because to get all those different people and those voices and so on and so on. So watch this space, guys. Watch this space. When we unpackage the vulnerability, we just need the right environment. But we want to say thank you for tuning in, guys. It has been amazing speaking with you about when to stay silent and why it's important. And I think everybody has said the exact same thing. ASAP. Everyone has said the exact same thing. It's not easy. It is difficult, but it is needed.
That's right.
There is a time and a place to speak, and a time and a place to stay silent.
Yep. For peace sake.
For peace sake. It's coming up to it, my dear. It's coming up to it.
Yes.
But what we do want to say is, if you haven't already, please follow us on all our social media. Please head over to YouTube to catch up on what you may have missed. And also let us know if there's any other content, any other topics that you want us to cover. I know that Arlene has already said she wants us to cover forgiveness. I know that Ulrich has been saying that he wants to do vulnerability. And I do know that we've got a submission topic coming up. Because
we got to talk about that, ladies.
And gents.
Submit one to another. Yes. Ephesians 5. Gotcha.
So we will be covering a few different areas, but guys, thank you so much for staying with us. You could have been watching Disney, you could have been watching Netflix, you could have been watching Amazon Prime, but you chose to be here with us, and we appreciate you.
Appreciate you guys. Thank you and good night. No, seriously, guys, thank you so much, and we'll be here next week, 9 p.m. BST. We're not going anywhere. We love this. This is what we're all about. Believing in love, talking about the issues that other people won't talk about, institutions won't talk about. Because at the end of the day, we want to save relationships, man. Because if there was more time being invested into relationships and into marriages, we won't have the divorce rate that we have. Do you understand? So guys, love the support and thank you guys so much. And see you next week.
Bye guys. See you later.
Take care, guys. Bye.